If you're watching this video, we've finished all the theory of the unit and we can now focus on the practical tasks that have to be involved. Remember, this is the assignment we have to do, and there's a lot that we have to consider in the assignment itself. But most of the things that we do are based around a practical task, which is design and create a mobile app, as you'll see just there. That is the key to it all, is to design and create a mobile app. Lots of marks for the design process, lots of marks for the review process. But if you haven't got an app to design and review, then you won't get any marks at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an Ionic app. Now what I'm going to suggest that you do is that before you start off anything, that we make sure that we have the most up-to-date version of Ionic installed on our machines. So here's my command line, and you should be in the root. And what you're going to do is npm install -g for global Ionic at latest. Now I think I've got everything that's up to date. I did it this morning, so I doubt there's been anything since I last did it. But if you now run that command, it will install the latest version of Ionic on your machine. So there we are. I've actually had 9 packages added. We're on version, this is still the beta version, 4.2.1. So it's Ionic 4, beta version 2.1. So that's really good. So we're now in a position to move on and create our app. The first thing you have to do when you're making an Ionic app is to decide where you're going to put it. What I'm going to do for mine is I'm going to put it in the root of my D drive, which is here. You probably won't have a D drive that's not a CD-ROM or something, or a DVD. So you need to navigate to where you want to be. And even if that's your C drive, make sure that you understand where you're going to be with it, because you'll see the default path is the C users, etc., 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 etc. So if you just installed it from where we are in the git bash command line, then it's going to end up with that very long path, and you're going to have a terrible job directing yourself to it. So what I'm going to do in your case, it might be slightly different. CD, and then you might put C, but I'm going to put D and the colon, and that puts me in the root of the D drive. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make directory. I'm going to call it 318. So I've now got that. So I change into CD 318. I'm now inside that directory. So I'm going to do the usual thing that we do, Ionic start inquiries, and it's going to be a blank template that we're using, and it's going to be of a type equaling Angular. Now let's make sure that we understand this. You must use the same names if you want to rely on following the code that I have made for you. It's really important, because if you start to overthink it, I think this is where many of you may fall foul. So I've now got that there, and what I'll do is I will just press the return, and that will create, or the enter, and that will create our application with a blank template of type Angular. So it has created our application for us. Now you'll remember that what you have to do in order to get to our application is to go into the directory which has been created for us by Ionic. We're already inside 318, but we now have to go to CD inquiries, which is the directory that will have been created for the app. And with you, if you've got this with the master at the end of it, you've done well, and your application has been created successfully. So I've now fixed my web server. What I actually have to do is I have to disable a reload inside one of the node modules for the index.js. So it's no great hardship. I've done that, and so we've now got it so that it's at least it's stable and not distracting us all the time. Okay, so what you've got to do next. What the next we're going to do is we're going to add 2 items to our application, which are going to be essential for us. Our application happens inside here. Inside the source folder, there's an app folder, and that's where everything that we do is going to be contained. Now at the moment we have one page in our app. That's what's produced when you get a blank app, and it's called Homepage. And we're just going to leave that. We could change it. We could recreate the page. Why not just use what we've got? So we're going to add another page, and we're going to add a service. And a service is where you put the code that you want to centralize, so that you write that code once, and then whenever you need to use it, you just call it from that location. So before we can do the creation of these two things, we need to stop the web server. So the way in which you do that is in the command line down here right at the bottom, Control C, and you should see the master appear again. So that's what you need to see. So what we need to do now is to issue this command line instruction to make our page. It's dead easy. Ionic, I keep misspelling Ionic. G for generate, and you could put the whole word generate. I'm going to generate a page, and it's really important that you call this the same way as I do, with the capitalization edit, capital E again, inquiry. It's really important that you do that so that we get exactly the same naming, so that we can trace down and chase down any errors that need to be resolved. So we do that. It's going to create the page, and it's ever so quick. You'll now see that we now have the edit page, same structure as the home page, exactly the same file structure. You've got the module, you've got the page, you've got the CSS file, you've got a test file, and you've got the code behind file, which is the home.page.ts. Notice how it's been named. Because I said capital E, it puts a hyphen between them for us. So that's what you need to do. Now, the next thing we're going to make is a thing called a service. And once again, it's Ionic G. And this time it's a service. And then you say what we want to do. And this shows you the power of what we can do. We can create a new folder through this command, services. And we're going to call it inquiry. Once again, capital E, really important. And this is ever so quick. And there you go. We've got services, a new folder that we created with that command line instruction. And there's our services in there. That's a test file again. We can ignore the test files because we don't use them. But there's the code behind for our service. That's us good to go, and we can start from here. So the first thing we should do is we should test that we haven't broken anything. So Ionic serve, and it'll go through the whole compile process again, and we'll get a new window in our browser because we closed the last one, and the same thing is going to happen as before. So it's compiled successfully, and in my case I have to refresh it. In your case it would automatically update this page, and everything works exactly as before. Nothing is broken, everything's good to go. Now at this stage what you can do in many cases is that because we're not going to be doing any structural adds for a little while, you can leave this open during the development process, and then every time you save a file you will get an automatic recompile, and the refreshing will be done in your browser automatically by your particular app because your web server isn't broken, I hope. So we'll move on next and we'll start to add features.